Okay, in this project you're going to need one of these styrofoam eggs that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. It's got these little like tube things all around it. So I'm going to take some tweezers and I'm going to start pulling those little glittery tube pieces off of there. And you can possibly skip this step. I just didn't want to take a chance of having any of those popping through the rope that I'm going to put on there. So you guys do you. So I'm just using some macrame cord, and I am just starting at the tip by just putting some hot glue there and kind of twisting it just to keep it from unraveling on me. And once that's dried, I'm then going to take that end, apply just a little dab of hot glue, and I'm going to kind of fold it over on itself in just a little piece, because I am going to be rolling it around or wrapping it around. Alright, once you've got that swirled around and it's dry, then I'm just going to apply some hot glue to this egg, and I'm going to set that piece right on top of it. And that just gives us a starting place to where we can start wrapping this rope around this egg. And when you are gluing that and wrapping it, when you apply the glue, you want to get that glue as close to the prior piece of rope as possible with a little bit on the egg itself. That way it just adheres to both the egg and the rope. And then we're just going to wrap this color around probably roughly about a quarter of the way down, possibly. You'll see when we get there. Okay, I don't know if you can necessarily call that a quarter of the way down, maybe an eighth of the way down, but you can go ahead and trim that off, and then of course just apply some hot glue, get it set down nice and flat. Next I'm just going to grab some nautical rope, and I'm just going to start that where the last rope ended, and then we're going to wrap that down. And it kind of is looking like an acorn right now. I just noticed that. But yeah, you'll just wrap that around and you'll see where we stop. Okay, and then we're just going to snip that nautical rope off. Actually, it's not even nautical rope, it's jute rope. Sorry, guys. My brain is in a cloud, I guess. But we're just going to snip that off and then start back again with the macrame cord. keep changing it up, switching back and forth ropes, just doing it the way that I think would look nice. And this is where you can use whatever kind of rope you want, make it look the way you want it to look. If you just want to use all of the jute rope, then use all the jute rope. If you'd rather just use all of the macrame cord, then do that. Just make it yours. All right, and when we get to the end, you're just going to swirl that around using that hot glue and just swirl it around until you can't see any more of that pink. Now, if you feel like you can't get all that pink covered up prior to adding any rope, you can always paint it in a neutral color. All right, and then we're just going to snip that off and then make sure we hold that rope in place until it's completely dry. And then I'm just going to take a lighter and singe off those little hairs you see all over the place when you use the jute rope. And I always have some water nearby when I do this, just in case. And then I'm just showing you here where you can use some pretty ribbon, add some color to it, which I did make one where I did add this ribbon. And that ribbon I had gotten from Hobby Lobby in their spring section. And it's just in shape of some, I think it's daisies. And then to finish this one off, I'm just going to take some of this pretty lacy ribbon that I had picked up from the Dollar Tree and just make a simple bow and then just glue that on and trim off the ends in a little bit of a diagonal, and then this project will be complete. And I do think they turned out really pretty. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. In this project, you're going to need a cone-shaped styrofoam, a half a circle styrofoam, and then some boxwood picks I had gotten from Walmart. And then you're also going to need some burlap ribbon. This is the pretty wide ribbon that I had picked up in the wedding area of Hobby Lobby. And yes, it was 40% off of that price. And then we're just going to use some hot glue and put some glue on the top of the cone-shaped styrofoam. And then we are going to attach the half round styrofoam to the top and just push it in pretty well. And don't use too hot of glue. If you've got low setting on your glue gun, that's what I would suggest, because that styrofoam will melt pretty fast with high temperature. And then pretty much all we're going to do is wrap that ribbon around that cone shaped, well, it looks like an ice cream cone shape now, but we're going to wrap that around and cover up that styrofoam. Now, I almost didn't even show you guys this. This was pretty much on the road to destruction. I had the hardest time getting the ribbon wrapped around that cone. And yeah, I almost tossed it, but I did end up saving it in the end. And it's just a matter of getting it to look nice when you're wrapping it. And when you're hot gluing it, I do have my hot glue gun on low setting, but when you do the hot glue, you don't want to use too much. The more you use, the more likely it's going to seep through that burlap and you'll be able to see it in the final project. When I would put the glue on, I would try to just kind of go along just a little stream of it and then push down, not too hard, just kind of tapping, because I did notice that when I would push down real hard, that's when I would make a little bit more of a mess than I desired. And as you can see here, sometimes I would just put the glue directly onto the cone and just kind of roll it onto the ribbon. And just make sure you have some type of silicone mat on the bottom. That way that glue doesn't stick down to anything. And for example, you can see right here when I put that glue down and I use that silicone spatula, I press real hard and flat with that spatula, and that just caused that glue just to make a mess, and you could see it. So if you take the side of that spatula and just kind of tap it in, it will just kind of avoid that mess. And honestly, when you start putting that ribbon down, I think if you were to take it and kind of place it on top of the round part and pull it down and kind of cover that round part up first, this would have gone a little bit more smoothly. And when I was working on the top part, I just had such a hard time getting that around there. If I was to do this again, I would take that ribbon and just lay it on top of the round part, the dome part, and I would just pull it down and kind of glue it in little sections, and then I would wrap around the cone part. I hope that makes sense. And right here, I'm just going to take that ribbon and I'm going to cut it down to 24 inches. And then I am going to cut that in half lengthwise. And I thought by doing this, it might make it easier to work with that ribbon. And it very well may. I don't know. I was just so frustrated at this point trying to think of how I can get that ribbon around the top. And right here, I'm going to take that boxwood. I'm going to cut it down so I can put it in the top, to give it the carrot some greenery, because yes, we're making a carrot. And I took my scissors and then just kind of made a little bit of a hole. That way I could push that in there as far as I desired with ease. And I added 2 picks here, but then I did end up adding a third one later on. So it was about right here. I was thinking, okay, the top part's looking okay. Now I just have to figure out how to finish it off at the bottom. What I end up doing for the bottom is I took one of those strips that we had cut in half, and I just kind of attach it, put some hot glue on it, and then just start wrapping it around and then going past the edge of the bottom. That way I can tie it off with some jute twine and give it more of a finished look. And you'll see here. And then next, I'm just going to take some more of that jute twine, and I am just going to wrap it around this carrot. In my opinion, it just kind of hid some of the flaws when I did that, and it really changed the appearance of it for the better, I think. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the bottom. Did I end up saving this, or was it something I just should have tossed? And when I got to the top, I just continued with that jute twine and wrapped it around the boxwood, just kind of making it blend in a little bit better. Now I'm just going to take some more of that jute twine, and I'm just going to wrap it several times around my fingers, and then I'm just going to take another piece of jute twine and tie it off in the center, giving it that little loopy bow look. That way I can just kind of put it here on the bottom, covering up that knot, and dress it up just a little. And then I'm just going to take a lighter and singe off some of those little furries off that jute twine. And this project is complete. In this project, you're just going to need some fabric of your choice. I have an orange one here that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and then the other two colors, and the tan and the green, I had picked up in a package from Hobby Lobby. And the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to iron all of your fabric. You can see I started here with a mini heat press. Well, that was just going to take way too long, so I ended up taking those over to my actual heat press and pressing them out. But feel free to use an iron. And then once you got those pressed out, you're going to take a piece and fold it over on itself. And then you're just going to draw out a triangle at the folded part. And this is pretty much just making up half of your triangle. And then what you can do for the remainder of the fabric is just use that first one as a template. And then that way you've got an even size on all of them. Okay, then the next thing you're going to want to do is start at the top of that triangle, and you need to fold it in on itself just using a little dab of hot glue. You're just going to roll it over and attach it to the other side. And I'm sorry about the angle, but it's fairly self-explanatory. And then you're just going to take the opposite side there, and you're just going to hot glue it down to the first side, if that makes sense, but you can see what I'm doing here. And you want to use just a very little stream of hot glue, because otherwise you're going to end up gluing the fabric together. And you want to press it down lightly, and periodically I will take the end of my paintbrush and I'll just put it under that fabric to make sure that that fabric is not getting glued down together. And you can see right here. And if you are a sewer, by all means, feel free to sew this together. I just find sewing it takes too long, so I decided to use the hot glue. And right here you can see where I don't really need the paintbrush, because I can reach up in there and just pull that fabric apart just to keep it pulled away from itself, so it's not glued together. Now I've got some nautical rope that I had picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut it down to 8 inches, And then I'm just going to take it, fold it in half, and cut it in half. That way I've got 2 4-inch strips. And then you're just going to unravel all of those strands in there, make it all nice and bushy, and then just pile them on top of one another. And then once you've got all those cut out, just gather them all together and then grab some elastics. I picked these up from the Dollar Tree, and just wrap it around the bottom part, just like you would tie a ponytail. And then you're just gonna wanna fluff them out. Just fluff, fluff, fluff. And then once you've got that done, you're going to go ahead and stuff your carrot, I guess you could call it now. But you're going to go ahead and stuff that with some stuffing, and this is just some polyfiber filler that I've got a bag of. But you could use the inside of a pillow that you're not using, but you just want to stuff it. And as far as how much stuffing to use, it all depends on how full you want it. And then right here, I could have done this earlier, but I just realized I needed to trim that top off to make it, you know, straight across. And that way, when you tie it together, it looks all pretty. And then once you've got that done, just take your bundle of twine, and I use some hot glue and just put that on top of the stuffing. I don't know that this part's really necessary since we're going to be tying it all together anyway. You'll just take another elastic band and you're just going to tie that around the top. Then just fluff it up. And I just kind of pulled the top of the fabric that's above the elastic and kind of fluff that out a little to make it look a little bit better. And now it's time to embellish it. I decided to use some buttons that I had picked up from Hobby Lobby. They're just some little wood buttons. They come in a package that's 99 cents. And I just decided to use 2 of those and glue them on to the front of the carrot. Now you can also decide to tie a bow around the stem part. You do you. This is definitely my favorite one in this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below.